let's talk about the Wastelanders crew and some of the apparent issues that the crew presents. It's going to be quite interesting and maybe a bit challenging. Let's start by having a quick look on the Modiphius website for what's available when you go into the Fallout Wasteland Warfare page and filter for survivors. We have quite a few entries, and we'll go through what we think about them. So I'll tell you which boxes are my preferred ones, and we'll try to see how we can get a crew for, well, potentially a reasonable amount of money. Okay, so again on the Modiphius website, that did not come up in the survivors list because it's not listed as a survivors faction. But one box that's going to be very useful is going to be the Hollywood Heroes. That's going to be very useful to you because it's got a model with an assault rifle. Now I'm not very happy about the fact that it's a model that's got a power armor. But it's got an assault rifle, and I'll also tell you what the benefit is of that a little bit later. You've also got someone with a pistol that looks a lot like a 10mm. I know it's a tranquilizer pistol, but you really can't tell the difference on the model. Maybe if you look very, very close, but I don't think anybody's going to do that. Lucy looks exactly like your typical vault dweller / lone survivor, so it shouldn't be much of a problem to use her as that. The ghoul is not terribly helpful, but incredibly helpfully that does give you a dog, which you're gonna use as a good boy. Now the other benefit from that box is that those models, that you can also use them. The rules come from the assembly instructions on Fallout Factions free downloads. So there are rules for those models, and you can actually use them as mercenary for hire. When you purchase the chems for a mission, you can also hire those one of those models, or more than one if you've got the caps for it. They're very expensive, but they can provide quite a bit of interesting abilities. Maybe we'll talk about that in a separate video. So basically that's a box that you're not going to regret buying if you want to play potentially narrative campaigns of Fallout Faction. If you're just going to be if you're just going to be doing tournaments, I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, or whether your tournament is even going to allow you to hire those characters. But for the purpose of creating your survivors crew, you can actually use some of those models, which is going to be very helpful. Obviously, it goes without saying that if you're playing Fallout Factions and you want a survivors crew, the two-player starter set for Fallout Wasteland Warfare is going to be a very good buy. It contains a lot of models. They're definitely not all very useful, but some of them are going to be helpful. You've got a lone survivor, you've got a good boy. You have one of the only models for survivors that has got a double barrel shotgun. There are a few companions. Well, I think there's one companion that has a double barrel shotgun, but they're not very common. So that's going to be very helpful to you. As you can see, that you've also got quite a few super mutants for the super mutants crew we talked about quite a few videos ago. So the starter box is going to be very helpful, or if you don't want a starter box because for whatever reason you don't want to play Fallout Wasteland Warfare, You can get the resin pack for these. Modifius has issued a resin pack, which is effectively an upgrade pack for the Fallout Wasteland starter set. The resin pack has got all those models in a slightly more detailed condition. Well, the models are more detailed, basically. The cast for the resin is a bit better than the plastic figures you get in the starter set. If you really want, and you've got the starter set, you can also get the resin upgrade. Then obviously that gives you even more models that you can use. And as I've hinted at before, for example, a big issue I have with the Survivors crew in Fallout Factions is that you really want quite a high number of good boys. And there aren't actually that many good boys in any of the sets. If you look at the survivor boxes, there aren't that many dogs in there. And actually, we're going to jump onto my next idea. If you want to get a lot of good boys without buying all the potential lone survivor boxes that you can get, I'll show you where I think you can get the most good boys for your money. So there you go, that's my idea for you. If you want good boys, a lot of good boys for the minimum amount of money, is going to be effectively the leader for the pack. If you never ever want to play Fallout Wasteland Warfare, that might not be the best investment. But if you have already the starter set for Fallout Wasteland Warfare, if you have the starter set for Fallout Factions, then that means you've already got a crew of the pack, and that just gives you the leader for it. So you can have a faction with a leader and in Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I know we're talking about Fallout Factions here, not Fallout Wasteland Warfare, but I'm fairly sure if you're playing Fallout Factions, you've at least tried Fallout Wasteland Warfare. It's definitely not a bad game. It doesn't play anywhere as fast as Fallout Factions. It feels very different to Fallout Factions, but it's, in my opinion, it's also a great game. So that's one of the good boys. I know the painting scheme is very the pack. It's very over the top. Again, realistically, you could do it quite a bit simpler and not have to be that identifiable as a dog that belongs to the pack. Same with this one. I think this one you can just do as shown without just the decoration on the bandana. If you make the bandana a bit plainer, then that suits perfectly well. And that means also that in your survivors crew, when you put it on the battlefield, it doesn't look like you've got 15 versions of dog meat, because that's gonna get a bit frustrating. And if you go through the boxes that we looked at before for survivors, you're gonna get Rex. Rex is, in my opinion, not a great fit for the survivors. Rex is a very specific model. It brings back very specific memories. I wouldn't say he's a good substitute for a normal dog. You've also got dog meat for in the box with the survivor with the Exo-1 power armor. I don't think that's not a great model. That's not a great generic model. Again, it's far too specific. It screams very specific version of dog meat. It's not that great. So I think really this box it's got 2 dogs and it's going to be perfect for your good boys. Then as we've seen, we've got the Hollywood version, and I know technically it's not really a dog, but doesn't matter. It works perfectly well as a dog. It looks like a dog, and I suppose that's the point. It looks like a dog. And then there's obviously there is a dog in the starter set. So if you got starter set or resin upgrade pack, Hollywood, Heroes, and the Raiders the pack top dogs, then you got everything you need. Okay, so this is your Wastelanders crew rules. There's nothing that's very specific in the crew limits. It certainly doesn't. The numbers are very similar to all the other crews. So I think the main difference is going to come when we look at the costs of some of the models you're going to field. Not so much the protagonist. The protagonist is very traditional for a leader. You've got fairly decent perks. Certainly, the Take Me Home is going to come into play quite often with the Wastelanders. And the weapon loadout is interesting because you don't actually have a melee weapon, but you do have a pistol and a hunting rifle. So pistol and rifle. The protagonist has got 5 in perception and agility, so you're always trying to hit under a 5, which is not perfect, but it's perfectly doable. Endurance of 5, which is again perfectly suitable. There's nothing terribly specific about the protagonist really. Yeah, so the companions are quite interesting because the text under the header says that each specialist is either a hunter, medic, or trader, and it says to choose one when purchasing the model, and then giving it the relevant weapon set and perks. But the problem is there's no weapon set or perk that really corresponds to trader, medic, or hunter. So I'm not entirely sure what this is about. I think this is probably something that was led from a previous version of the Get You By list. So I'd probably say ignore that because it doesn't make a lot of sense. You do have to choose a perk. So you have obviously the Take Me Home perk, and you have to choose Sniper, which is Sniper is to do with enemy models not providing cover for the other models, so you don't have to shoot the intervening model, you can shoot the model that's behind it. And then you've got Scrapper and Fortune Finder, which have got to do with your rummage action and finding more parts and getting more caps. So quite useful potentially for your crew. And the weapon set are not bad at all. So you've got the sawn-off shotgun and the baseball bat. And I will tell you immediately that the only model, the only miniature in the whole of the Modifius range that does have a sawn-off shotgun and a baseball bat is Kate. So unless you get the pack with Kate, which I believe is the Boston Companions. There is no way of getting the sawn-off shotgun and baseball bat. Now, the Boston Companions obviously give you that sawn-off shotgun and baseball bat. It also gives you someone with a 10 mil. So it's not a useless pack. Not my favorite because I've chosen other packs that sort of achieve the same. And if you want all the options, you're just going to end up spending an awful lot of money, certainly north of £200 in the UK. It's probably about what, 20 to 30 euros, and probably about $250 or something like that. So not a not a sensible amount of money to put a get you by list together. I really get the idea that this list was intended for people who have already got a very extensive collection for Fallout Wasteland Warfare. So anyway, the other weapon set you can choose is the combat shotgun and the hand weapon. That you can get from the Capital Companions. I can't remember which one has got that, but I know it's one of them. And you've also got someone with an assault rifle. So assault rifle, I would strongly suggest using the model in the power armor from the Hollywood Heroes. There are other options. The Chinese assault rifle from Fallout 3. And I think your best option if you really want the assault rifle and you don't want to use the Hollywood Heroes box for that, your best solution is the Washington Companions. I'm sure there is someone with the Chinese assault rifle in there. Like I said as well, I'm fairly sure the sheriff from Megaton has got an assault rifle, so if you got the box with that's okay, and that's probably actually the Washington Companions. Not much more to say about the companions. Obviously, the only logical perk that would work very well with the weapon set is obviously you'd get sniper with the assault rifle. Sort of makes sense. Still not a perfect fit in my opinion. The companions specials, they're not bad at all. Certainly 5 in perception, which is going to be what you use most of the time because you've got stone of shotgun, combat shotgun, assault rifle. All those rely on perception. The weapons are not bad at all, so you're probably going to hit quite often. Obviously, the stone of shotgun and the combat shotgun are very close range weapons, not melee obviously, but for the stone of shotgun, if you want to get the extra dice from Storm, which is, I'm fairly sure it's Storm 2, you are going to have you're going to need to be incredibly close to the enemy model. There's nothing that's really surprising in the special. Endurance of 4, it's not great, but it's serviceable. And an intelligence of 5, so you're unlikely to fail confusion tests too often. And then we've got the mercenaries. Again, take me home perk, normal for the survivors faction. That's the perk you're going to see for every model. But that's where we start seeing some very peculiar special numbers. So strength 3, which would tend to indicate that the hand weapon you get on one of the weapons set is not going to be terribly helpful. Perception 4, which is again not great. An endurance of 5, which means that you're not actually going to risk getting injuries directly quite often. You would really need to be in a bad situation to get an injury straight. So you are going to go through the process of adding harm to this model before it gets an injury. But the big problem here is the intelligence of 3. And I suppose that's very thematic, but that really means that if your mercenary is near any other model that gets incapacitated, that mercenary is going to run away from the battlefield. Now that feels very mercenary-like behavior, but that that means that effectively you're going to have to run those mercenaries pretty much on their own on the board, because if they're close to any other model and that model is a grunt and that grunt gets incapacitated, then your mercenary is out. That's pretty much a guarantee with a 3 in intelligence. So again, well done Modifius. The special values really reflect the model, but that's going to be terrifying if you try to run them near other people. Now for the regular Joes, you can find pipe pistols and one double barrel shotgun in the starter set or the upgrade resin pack for the starter set. There aren't that many more that I can find quite easily. In the Survivor's core box, I believe you get a few pipe pistols. So again, that's an option. I'm not entirely sure why you'd really want to run too many regular Joes with pipe pistols. But yeah, because it's not a great weapon set. The thing that is quite immediately visible here is the grunts, and that also includes the mercenaries, by the way. The grunts are quite low value in caps, so that's going to be something that's quite interesting, because how do you get to the 250 caps limit, or close to the 250 caps limit, while still staying on the 5 grunts per champion, because you've only got 3 champions, your leader and 2 champions as maximum, and each of these can have a maximum of 5 grunts associated to them. So that means you've got a maximum of 18 characters, and if you really wanted to spend your 250 caps in models, yeah, you'd be very close to those limits. Now, I'll explain to you why I think that's not actually the idea with this faction. Simply because, well, I mean, I can't believe that was the idea that Modifius had behind his faction. And the reason, one of the reasons is you would need such a huge number of boxes to get to that 250 caps limit. I can't believe that's the idea. That's just way too many models on the board, way too much investment. And even if you're a very regular player of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, you're just not going to have that many boxes. I mean, well, sure, if you're a completionist and you've decided to buy every single box of survivors, yeah, sure, you'll have that. But even then, you'd probably need multiple copies of some of the boxes to actually be able to get all the models you need. So now we get to the regular Joes. Regular Joes, well, they are effectively the opposite of your mercenaries. So they have a perception of 4. So when you try to use a double barrel shotgun and hunting rifle, it's not going to be great. They have an agility of 4 again, so you're in the same situation when you try to use the pistols. And as I was saying, they're the reverse of the mercenaries, because they have an endurance of 3. So when they get hit, they're quite likely to immediately get an injury, because anything that's 3 harm or more is immediately taking them to the injury and incapacitation. But they have an intelligence of 4, which means they're actually less likely to fail confusion tests than the mercenaries. So that's gonna be your trade-off, really. Do you want models that can actually take harm, or do you want models that are going to immediately run off the board when someone gets incapacitated? And that's really going to be a decision you're going to have to make, and that will have an impact on where you place your models on the board. For the regular Joe with a hunting rifle, your only real decent possibility is to use Boone from the Boone Arcade and Cass, from the New Vegas companion box. It's a very good model. It's got a hunting rifle. I just hate the concept of having Boone as a regular Joe. It feels so wrong. He's supposed to be an incredibly experienced ex-military guy, and it really doesn't feel right having him as a regular Joe hitching on the 4. But anyway, that's your best bet. And then finally we have the good boys. The good boys, they're not fantastic. They're obviously just melee models, and they've only got a strength of 4. So yeah, they're going to be able to hit some enemies in melee, but it's not going to be fantastic. They've got an endurance of 3, which means that they're also pretty easy to eliminate in one single action. And they've got an intelligence of 3, which is again, they might just end up running off the battlefield, which is a teeny weensy bit of a problem. But they are incredibly cheap. They are absolutely incredibly cheap at 7 caps. So they can actually they can help you control what's happening on the board a little bit, and certainly what we've seen with the battle reports with the super mutants, the super mutant hounds were very important in that battle, and that's not because they were good. It's simply because they kind of their models can be quite easily sacrificed to control enemy models. Again, don't try to run them too close to other models that might be incapacitated, because they will run off the battlefield. But they can be some sort of vanguard force that sticks to corners and obscured line of sight to get to some of your enemies and try to control them a little bit. So the weapons available to the Wastelanders, we have a lot of pistols and weapons that have got the storm keyword. So a lot of close quarter battle and storm weapons. So we are looking really at a faction that's going to be mid-range to close-range shooting. The only real option for long-range shooting is going to be the hunting rifle. Okay, so the ploys, and that's really where the faction is going to start making sense. The ploys are actually pretty powerful. I'm not sure how easy they are to actually use efficiently, but if used efficiently, they seem to be pretty marvelous. One of them effectively turns a piece of terrain into terrain that is pretty much inaccessible to the enemy, or terrain that is damaging the enemy. Whether it's easy to get the enemy to fail the agility test or not is an interesting question. But really, it doesn't. It feels like if you use that ploy, the enemy is rather quite unlikely to try to get near the designated piece of terrain. So that's a good ploy if you can use it efficiently. And the next one again is if you can place your models correctly. Some Rain Must Fall is effectively turning all your models into a sort of mob that gets a free shooting action regardless of the fatigue they have, because they don't take fatigue for that action. It turns them into a firing squad that's shooting at a model that has incapacitated one of your models. Both of those ploys really are pretty good. Whether you can efficiently set up the board to the point where they can turn around the action, I don't really know. I mean, it's a bit difficult to assess. But they are very powerful ploys potentially, and that's where the faction starts making sense, in my opinion. I mean, you're more than welcome to disagree. If you have different ideas, or if you think I'm completely wrong, please say so in the comments and try to explain your point of view. But we know that this faction has got models that are quite cheap, and it's very hard to actually get near the 250 caps value. Now, if you're not playing tournament, if you're playing the rules that are in the starter set, you're trying to get to 250 caps, but for every 50 caps under that threshold, you get an extra ploy. So, in my opinion, this faction was designed in a way that you're not trying to get to 250, you're trying to get to 200 and get an extra ploy. So you can use 2 ploys in a battle instead of just using 1. Um, and I think that's going to be that's going to be how I try to play them. Simply because I just can't I can't find the will to just buy all the models to get to 250 when I know that's way too many to use in Fallout Wasteland Warfare, and I'll never use them in anything else. So I would always try to get to 200 and get the extra ploy for the battle. And it's not that hard to get to 200, and even at 200 you've still got a fairly high number of models on the board. So it's not like you're not understaffed. You've got enough models on the battlefield. So for my crew, bearing in mind, I fully intend to use the leg up rule. That means that for every 50 caps below the 250 threshold, I get an extra ploy. I would get the protagonist. Obviously, you've got no choice, so that's 44 caps. Then I would get a companion with a combat shotgun and hand weapon from the capital companions. I would get the companion with the assault rifle from the Hollywood Heroes box. Then I would use mercenaries, and I would get 2 mercenaries with a combat shotgun and hand weapons. And I get those from the Vault Personnel box, because that box has got 2 Vault Security members with combat shotguns and batons, and it's also got 2 Vault Dwellers with 10mm pistol, and they're going to be useful later. And after that, I would get for the regular Jaws, I would use the 2 Vault Dwellers I've just talked about with the 10mm pistol. I would probably try to add a third regular Joe with a 10mm pistol. There's quite a few of them in if you've got most of the boxes I talked about. You can probably also use Lucy from the Hollywood Heroes, because her Tranquilize pistol looks a lot like a 10mm pistol. Then I would get a regular Joe with a double barrel shotgun, which would be the free man from the starter set. The one that's also the enslaved, is it enslaved tech? I think if you put him in the super mutant faction. And then I would add a regular Joe with a hunting rifle, and I would have to be Boone from the Boone Arcade and Cass box from Fallout New Vegas, I think. And after that, I tried to get 4 good boys. So that's going to be 1 from starter set, 1 from the Hollywood Heroes, and 2 of the dogs from the Raiders pack top dogs. So that would be 4. That actually takes you to 214. So that's thinking a little bit about upgrade. So I would try to get to 200, and I'd probably do that by, at the start, dropping 1 of the regular Joes that has a 10mm pistol, and dropping 1 of the good boys. So you'd have 3 good boys, and you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 regular Joes. And that takes you just under 200. So you'd get your fairly decent crew, because that's still a team of 12. That's a team of 12, and you get obviously your extra ploy from the leg up phase of preparing for the battle. And that's about it. It doesn't leave you a lot of room for chems. But because of the Take Me Home perk, I try to distribute the harm on models that stick together. So the regular Joes would likely stick together because they've got a fairly fairly decent intelligence, so a decent chance of passing confusion tests. And mercenaries and good boys would have to run separately from the other models to try to avoid having them running away from the battlefield in case of confusion tests. I'd really like to know if you've managed to field a Wastelanders crew, and I'd really like to know how it's performed against other crews, so other get you by lists and other I'm gonna say proper inverted within inverted commas, without the pack, the operators, the disciples, the Zetans, or the cult of the Mothman. I'd really like to see how they've performed against them. The design is very interesting. They really feel like the plucky underdogs. They really feel like the people trying to build a decent life in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Um, they, they feel a little bit like they're quite fragile, which I suppose is interesting. The only models that are not that fragile are the mercenaries, and again that's very thematic. So I think that's something that Modifius have done quite well in all the factions. They've managed to put the theme of the faction within the values for the models, and it makes the factions play very differently. But I'm a little bit worried that the Wastelanders, probably by design, are quite fragile, and it's going to be very hard to keep a lot of them alive. But they've got some good aspects, such as the companions have got perks that can help you in your post battle actions. You're probably going to get more caps, more parts than the other factions, which is going to help you to upgrade your weapons and turn you from a very fragile character into, well, either a glass cannon or a character that's more sturdy but still not very strong. So it feels really like Wastelanders, and I think it's probably a faction that I would like to field on the board quite a few times, but it's just the investment in all the boxes. It's a bit much. Now I like playing Fallout Wasteland Warfare as well, because it's a game that plays very differently from Fallout factions. So I think I'll try to justify at some point the investment in a few more boxes. Um, just well, A, because I want to, and B, because I'd like to play the Wastelanders. But yeah, I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to be that strong, but we'll see.